Texas and Arkansas. Hey, man, we talked about is Week 12 going to have some upsets? Texas and Arkansas this week. Your thoughts?
Look, I'm not going to go there on the upset possibility, and I know that Texas fans think that we hate them.
Don't say it's not a possibility.
All right, sure. I will say that it's on the table because Arkansas has done it before.
Yes, they beat Tennessee, so don't say it's not possible.
And they're getting Texas at home in an environment that is extremely underrated for how difficult it is to win there. However, actually, I'm not doing the however thing. I need to stop myself. That's not my bit.
Yeah, y'all keep taking my however.
But this Arkansas team defensively is a mess. Their offense that we have lauded and appreciated, Taylor Green and Jaquindon Jackson, who's been a bit banged up recently, they've been awesome. One of the best offenses in the country in just total yards per game, 25th in adjusted EPA per play. They're also one of the least stopped teams on third down situations. Like they are very, very successful at producing big plays. Their defense sucks. They're allowing 266 pass yards per game, 121 rush yards per game. And we saw what happened against Ole Miss, against a team that has premier athletes. We saw what happened. They couldn't keep up with them. There's a lot of similarities that could be had, and I would argue Texas's offense has better weapons at receiver and at tight end than Ole Miss does at the current moment with their injuries that they're dealing with. I don't have a lot of faith that Arkansas is going to be able to stop them. They beat Tennessee because they forced Tennessee to play their game, and Nico played poorly. Quinn plays like he did against Florida, man. This is going to be a splattering like it was against Florida.
So in Week 10, Arkansas had a pretty embarrassing loss when they took on Ole Miss. They gave up 63 points, and that's what you're talking about. Their secondary was horrible. Jackson Dart in that game went completely off. He went 25 of 31 for 515 yards and 6 touchdowns. And you look at Watkins had 254. Lee had 127. Wright had 99. So you're right. The secondary for Arkansas is abysmal. It is completely and utterly abysmal. They have let teams absolutely nickel and dime them down the field. And then the teams start taking deep shots. LSU did it. Ole Miss did it. Why Tennessee didn't do it, I have no idea. Maybe they just didn't feel confident in Nico here. But they're coming off of a bye. And the last time they came off a bye and they played LSU, they got their shit kicked in. I wonder, and Joe, I equated to what happened with South Carolina the second time that they came off a bye week. You know, the first time South Carolina came off a bye week, Ole Miss just absolutely destroyed them. The second time they came off a bye week, A&M comes into town, and they really took it to Texas A&M. It's not the same apples to oranges here when you're playing Texas. Not even close. Joe, I've seen this movie before. Arkansas, really, really tough opponent going into that place, and them keeping games close. Joe, it's a story as old as time with Arkansas. No, there's no logic in this. Zero logic. I've seen top 25 teams go into Fayetteville over and over and over again. And no matter how much they were mismatched, no matter how crazy the odds felt or seemed, and Joe, something miraculous happens. And you know what? When that mostly happened? Oh, when the offensive coordinator was at Arkansas and Bobby Petrino. I don't know how Arkansas is going to react coming out of a bye week in a rivalry game that gets renewed. This is a big-time rivalry game. You know, I talked to some Arkansas people in the media about a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, listen, you have LSU, you have Ole Miss, you have Texas. And before I could even ask the question, they said we would go 1-2 if we could beat Texas. If we could just get one game and that one win be against Texas, we will love every single second of it. And I said, oh, okay, that's fine. What does Bobby P have in his bag? The only thing here, and why I don't think that they can pull this off, okay, Texas is going to absolutely abuse them through the air. It's going to happen. Sark is too good and too good of a play caller, and Quinn is too experienced not to get these talented dudes the ball in space. Joe, I don't want to look at this game and say in a rivalry game it's going to be a blowout. But, man, I think Texas is about to go off. And I think it's going to be a bombshell in that stadium because I think Quinn's going to throw the ball all over the place. But it's crazy because I've been critical of Quinn. But this secondary is so bad, man. If you're allowing them to turn you over, then there's a lot more bigger problems.
Right. You just hit on what's key here. That secondary has been very problematic, and it's been super leaky. The big game, the big win that they were riding off of that's kept Sam Pittman afloat as a coach, again, was the Tennessee game. And what produced that upset was they created pressure early on Nico that led to mistakes, and they were able to take over with Taylor Green as a runner. And Jaquindon Jackson also was able to produce in that game as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that secondary is even anywhere close to equipped to stop Isaiah Bond and Golden and all of those guys. They are so freaking potent with that group when they're firing on all cylinders and they're in a flow. But to what you said at the very beginning here, before you jumped into finalizing our thoughts on why Texas wins the football game, you are right. This is more of a rivalry than I think the casual fan realizes. Like regionally, they're going to put everything on the line. We said this with the Tennessee game. When Sam Pittman was backed up against the wall and Bobby Petrino, they were backed up against the wall, what were they going to do? They're in that same spot against a team that they
hate. Yes, in a renewed rivalry. And look, that place, listen, again, Joe, I'm talking to him last week, talking to some Arkansas guys this week. Joe, you think the LSU game was big for them? You think the Tennessee game was big for them? This is it. This is the creme de la creme. This is the icing on top. We want this one. And look, man, I for what it's worth, if you run the ball effectively, man, they can run the ball effectively. They have all year. It doesn't matter who's at running back. They can run the ball effectively. God bless. They're going to get their asses torn up in that secondary again. And it's just look, Sark is too good. He's too smart. So is Quinn. They're going to find open lanes, and it's going to be night-night, sweetheart. But that would make Arkansas 5-5 on the year. And, then they got
that's what I'm going to ask here is that, like, what is –
he's got to get to a bowl game.
Do you think Pittman's done enough to save himself? Like, do you think 6-6? So, okay, wait, who's their coming schedule?
I think they have Missouri.
They have
Missouri's in there somewhere.
Louisiana Tech, and they close out with Missouri. So, I mean, they could.
So they're going to get to bowl eligibility. So probably so.
Yeah, they could finish 7-5. They could beat Missouri, who's seems like everybody's little brother that they're just kicking the crap out of this season.
What happens when Missouri gets healthy? It's my question.
It's not going to happen until next year. I mean, when the heck is Brady Cook coming back? They're going to have 3 losses, and they're going to be they're going to lose to South Carolina. They're going to be in the middle of the SEC.
Yeah, you're right. South Carolina's going to beat them. All right.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.